Okay, so we are talking about response variables and explanatory variables. So I'm not going to pause the video so I'm not going to run the video and make you write as I talk. I'm just going to have the text on screen for you that you need to fill into your summary book. And you can pause the video whenever you want to write some things down. So you also have PDFs for this, hopefully, so this should be not too bad. So once you've copied that down, you pause the video, copy this text down, and then we'll talk about it. So the phrases we use for explaining the relationship between two variables is explanatory variable and response variable. And down here, the explanatory variable is the one that helps us to predict a change in some other variable, and the other variable is the response variable. There's lots of ways to think about it. The explanatory variable explains the response of the response variable. The explanatory variable predicts the response variable. We use the explanatory variable to explain a change in the response variable. That's the sort of stuff. Think of it like this. Suppose you're a keen gardener and you're growing tomato plants and you want to know which variety of compost or manure is actually the best for your tomato plants to make them grow taller. So you've got your tomato plants and they're growing up nice and tall, and on them you've got little tomatoes everywhere. And you decide to take 3 different tomato plants, they're all about the same height, and you give them different compost, compost A, compost B, and compost C, and then you measure the height in centimeters. You want to predict how tall they are based on what manure you used. So in this case, the response variable would be the height of the plant, and the explanatory variable would be the brand of manure or the brand of compost. That's because the compost is helping to explain or predict the change in height. So one is the EV, one is the RV. Okay, so here's a couple of examples. I'll do the first example for you, and then I'll let you pause the video for the next ones. Does the mode of transport affect the time it takes to get a student to school? We want to know what influences the time it takes for a student to get to school. So that's what we're measuring in the end. So we're measuring the time it takes for a student to get to school. That's why it's our response variable. It's what we want to eventually be able to predict. I want to predict how long it takes you to get to school based on what mode of transport you took. Or in other words, can the mode of transport effectively predict the time it takes you to get to school? And usually that relationship is only in one direction. The thing that you are trying to predict is the response variable. The thing that you are trying to explain that change is the explanatory variable. There's a couple more examples on the page. I want you to pause the video and try them for yourself, then unpause it and I'll talk through them. Okay, so you had to go at the other ones. Let's scroll down and have a look. Can we predict a person's height from their wrist measurement? So if we're trying to predict a person's height, that's going to be our response variable. Anything that you're trying to predict in the long run is your response variable every single time. That's got to be RV. What you're predicting from is your EV, what explains that height. So in this case, wrist measurement is going to predict height. In some cases, it could work the other way around. We could also try and predict your wrist measurement from your height. That's sensible, but in this particular case, we're trying to predict your height. If you're trying to predict height, it automatically becomes your response variable. In the second one, reaction time for a driver related to their blood alcohol level. Our blood alcohol level is the thing that we can measure to hopefully predict reaction time. That's what we're trying to figure out. Is your blood alcohol level going to make a change in your reaction time? The number of visitors to a local swimming pool and daily temperature. Is the daily temperature going to create a change in the number of visitors at a swimming pool. And every now and again you get one that I think is just a little bit silly, like the blood group and a TV channel, and that's the sort of thing that we don't tend to focus on all that much.